So I have two books this week because I was slow with reading and it made me sad. But I did get through two books. So first book is Falling in Love with English Boys by Melissa Jensen. It's kind of one of those books where you have two stories wrapped into one. You have the story of Catherine with a C, who is in modern day, and she's in London with her mother, and all of her entries are blog entries that she's doing to keep up with people who are at home. And then you have the story of Catherine with a K, Catherine Percival, who lives, I'm not exactly sure, but it's probably around the same time as Jane Austen, but a little bit after, because she does mention Jane Austen. So, Catherine C., she is in London with her mother, who's working at the British Museum, and she's there for the summer, and she's extremely bored. She doesn't want to be in London. She doesn't think that she should have to be away from her friends. She's bored. And her mother gives her Catherine K's diary. She's like, look, I'm learning about this woman's mother. It's Catherine's mother, Mary Percival. And she's like, look, I'm learning about this woman, and hey, here's her daughter's diary, and you should totally read it because you have stuff in common. Because you're both female and about 16 and like to shop. And so, of course, as any teenage girl with mother issues, she's like, ugh, fine, whatever. And she only reads a little bit and then puts down, maybe reads a little bit more, only because she's bored. And there's a guy who's a descendant of the Percival family, Will Percival, who she wants very much to impress, and she has a crush on him. With Catherine, you have her living, and she's in London for her first season, where you go to find a mate, and she's very enamored of this man, Mr. Baker, who is a poet, poetry is not a very exalted profession at this point. So, she's like, oh, he has such pretty words, and her parents are like, yeah, those words can't feed you. Also, her dad is kind of sucky. Both their dads kind of suck. So, I liked this book. It was an enjoyable read, but I had a couple of issues with it as well. The Catherine C. speaks. She's typing a blog, and for the most part, it's interesting. She has a good voice, but some things she has are dialectical or they're generational or something. And I say this like I'm an old person and not only 20, but she uses things like goyles for girls and thang for thing. And for some reason, it annoyed me a little bit, and I was like, why, you're typing a blog, why can't you just speak like a normal person? And Catherine K's diary for a long time read like Kitty Bennett's diary, I'm sure, would read. She was very silly and a little empty-headed and boy crazy. So it turned out well. It's not a book that I regret reading. It's not like Vampire Diaries. But it's not probably one that I would read again unless I just wanted something very, very light. So that's Falling in Love with English Boys by Melissa Jensen. And it came out last December because I have a advanced reader copy because I went to a free book event. Yay, free books. Okay, so the next book, the other book that I have is a book that I absolutely adored so much. It's An Unforgettable Lady by J.R. Ward. She also writes as Jessica Bird, so if you know Jessica Bird, it's contemporary romance novels, you know J.R. Ward. And I love her. I love her so much. When I finished Falling in Love with English Boys, I was like, okay, I need an author I know is gonna kick ass and be awesome, because I've been reading books that I finished them, I'm like, it was okay. And I was like, I want a book that I finish it and I'm like, yeah! When's the next one coming out? What else can I read? So, An Unforgettable Lady was that book. J.R. Ward is always going to give me that book because she is awesome. So this book is about Grace Hall, and she's a high society kind of person. She married a count, so she's Countess von Charon, or something like that. And she is she's very known in high society, but there is a killer who is killing off women mentioned in this article, of which Grace is like the highest person on the list. So she doesn't want to, but she figures she should probably get some protection. She's not. She feels very unsafe, unsecure with her life, and so she hires a man named John Smith. That is not his name, but he's ex-military and has his own security firm, and he says that he actually uses the sentence, I have 3 different social security numbers and a number of passports, something like that. He has a bunch of social security numbers and passports, and he's a ghost, basically. He doesn't really exist in the system. So she hires him, and he is awesome. And of course it's a romance novel, and so they start falling for each other, and they both fight it so freaking hard, especially him. And if you've read J.R. Ward's Black Dagger Brotherhood and you like the brothers, but maybe you like the brothers but you're not so much of the fantasy romance kind of person, you will love this book, because basically John is a brother without the fangs and issues with lessers. And so I loved him, and I loved reading this book. It's sarcastic, it's funny, it's romantic, it's sweet, and can you tell that I really liked this book? And I liked that it was romance. I've needed a good romance for a little while. So, An Unforgettable Lady by J.R. Ward. It was fantastic. You should definitely go and read it. Either go to the library and pick up the first available copy, or go to a used bookstore and buy it. You will not be sorry. If you like romance at all, you will not be sorry that you read this book. So that's all the books that I have for this week. I am working through reading some more, but I also need to work on editing. I finished writing my own novel. It makes me very happy, and I need to edit that before I get it bound and then send it to people to help me edit it. So I will have more books next week, and I hope that you have an enjoyable time reading.